Go ahead.
No, no, that's great. I love that. I just love it. I love that you told people to get a pet, because that would be wonderful.
Yeah, and I don't mean just get a pet. Like, bring that pet into your life. Really
Oh,
connect with that
sure.
pet.
Yeah,
Elevate that pet. Treat that pet like a god who's going to give you
de-
divine knowledge,
definitely.
right?
I've learned so much from my cat. It's pretty. He expects everything to go his way, so that's a good one to learn right
But
there.
often it does it not?
Oh, for him, every time.
Well, I mean, like he says, all right, Monty, I'm going to make this happen for you so we can, like he has that ability. So
Sure, he's magical.
he's
He's the
magical.
and
But
he's
all the animals, all of them are magical,
for sure.
right?
It's yes.
Right. So here's the thing. Like, I tell people, like, it's like, if you're not going to meditate, get a pet. If you're not going to get a pet, get into your plants, get into that garden, do something that gets you reconnected at a deeper level here.
Yes,
right?
the spiritual elevation that Steiner was talking about, and the pure water and pure food. As Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, said, "Thy food shall be thy remedy." So people got to eat right. I think that's one of the things of this time.
Mm-hmm.
I've been eating right since I'm 16, and now that I'm 70,
right.
Of course I have to be 70 the year that 70 is the cutoff. Everyone who's 70 is supposed to stay inside in New York City. I mean, in New York State. That's been the biggest thing that pissed me off the whole thing of the whole epidemic is like 70.
Well, I think that's going to really hit you really hard in a bigger way than it is now leading up to that eclipse. Don't you think? Because your freedom, Uranus, is sort of being curtailed here. The independence, your ability for movement.
Yes. Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah. And with the 11th house ruling planet of the sun in the 11th house, it'll really make me, I guess doing what we're doing is part of that. Because as you said, we're now in the shadow of the eclipse.
Right.
And here we are doing something that's meant for the collective, the 11th house, the friends, hopes, and wishes, the trade associations. But once again, it's the association of people that are smart enough to listen to your Facebook page. That's one of the, try and be part of the good that's going to come out of this. I think that's the key.
Yeah. And I think I know I'm going to be writing a lot more about that. I mean, I'm still in a phase of like, we've got a problem, Houston. And I know majority of the people that are listening are non-astrologers, people who follow it, but not really would never anticipated being a professional. Maybe they're like part-time amateurs, but they're listening. It's the I've written off the astrological community. That's one of the reasons I'm no longer a member of the NCGR. It all started when I predicted Trump, and it just started going. And I just said, I am no longer going to be part of this club anymore, right? Especially when I know what I know about how most of these people are not real professions.
It's the classic case of shoot the messenger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not like you have a personal interest. You're telling him what you see as a professional astrologer.
Right. So I'm going to write more about that, talk about like shit brought out, get on one of those mini trampolines. I certainly have one. That. I love them. I use them. I mean, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a bodybuilder. I used to compete. I still work out. I still can hold my own against the 35, 25-year-olds. And actually, I work out with 25-year-olds and 30-year-old guys.
Wow.
And women, when we're sharing the machines and stuff. Sure. And I'm hitting with the same level of intensity. I can't go, so I have to shift gears and I'm going to have to do things, I sort of miss, one of the things I regret, I used to have all the Weeder. Remember Joe Weeder? For
sure.
Those of you, we're sort of aging, we're aging each other.
Speaking of comic books, he was on the back of every comic book.
That's right. So I had all these Weeder weights and I had squat racks. I had everything. And I gave them all away. I said, I'm living in New York City in a luxury building. I don't need this anymore. I can just go to these gyms. And I really now regret I must have had about nearly $10,000 worth of equipment. I used to have all my friends come over, work out with me. Wow. It was like, it was a real bonding thing. We would really train, really push ourselves, squat 500 pounds. And we were only, we were 18, 19 years old, right? We were bench pressing 400 pounds. So, wow. I was benching 400 pounds by the time I was 18. When I was 15, I benched 300 pounds. But the point is,
that's amazing.
Yes, that's what we did. And we did it out of the garage and we played music in our garage and we, You know, we did everything, and that's all gone now. That's all gone. Nobody does that. They all go to the gym, and we've basically outsourced our life to everyone and everything. And now it's about going back to insourcing again.
No, we have a treadmill, and we have I don't know what they call it. It's like an elliptical. It's one of those Bowflex machines that you actually you push and it goes back and forth. We have that in house. Amy and I don't like to leave the house. So the strangest thing about the epidemic for us is how little our life has changed, because we've made our house the place we want to be.
Right.
So we hardly ever go out. And I have a chinning bar. Chin-ups are good.
Chin-ups are great, you know, and so we're all going to have to do that. We're going to have to get, you know, it's time to get connected to nature, get connected to a pet. They really ground you, as Rachel has pointed out.
And
Look,
don't smoke, because it's a lung problem.
Don't smoke.
Yeah.
Get that smoking. Do what you got to do. I have a phenomenal paraliminal you can purchase that uses paraliminal hypnotic technology. And if you use it in conjunction with other stop smoking techniques, such as the nicotine gum, you use it in conjunction and you can wean off of it very quickly.
That's good.
Right. So these are things you can do now, you know, just you have some time. Okay. So if I really don't believe they're going to lift these restrictions, it's life back to normal. Trump may lift a couple because he has to have some plausible deniability. He's got a safe face. But I think it's going to be where, I don't know. I don't see how he can lift this. I'm just running down my checklist here and going, what could he do?
I see your point. I'm just telling you what I think he's going to do. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. So, you know, in terms of the market stuff, don't get caught up with that. Just decide I'm going to preserve my wealth. Nothing's going to be perfect. You're not going to, all of us, including myself, who's done a lot of preparation, we're all going to get hit by this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're just going to, like, you know, if we're able to basically get by through this emergency and stay intact, then that's a success. That's success.
Yeah, we're on emergency power now, and that's the way you got to roll it. And also, okay, so stop smoking. My advice to people would be stop smoking for sure, and make sure to wash your hands after you've opened your mail, and don't touch your face, because the mail is the Trojan horse.
Well, I just say it better. Get those rubber gloves you can get at Costco, the really thin ones. Put them on when you go outside, right? And then, of course, you don't touch your face, all right? Or if you have a tendency, wear the mask and do what you got to do, right? And then take them off and then spray your hands, take off the mask, and do this and take them off before you enter the house. Put them in the trash, right? And then go in and wash. You have look, because at some point you're going to forget, you're going to touch your face, right?
No, I know what you're saying, but the trouble is a lot of people can't get those gloves. Like they're part of the toilet paper phenomenon. Right.
So, you know, and if you know people so do what you can do. Come up with a strategy. That's a great, but you know, my brother had to take Bart and I said, you got to get the rubber gloves. Just put the rubber gloves on. Who the hell cares?
If you can get them.
And because those trains, right, those trains, they are festering, right, with coronavirus all over them, no matter how much they spray them down. Festering.
I mean, the airplanes on their best day were not the cleanest places in the world.
Exactly. So, so they're like incubators, right, for coronavirus.
No, I because we're getting a lot of packages now because we're 70 and we have to stay inside. So I treat every package as like it's radioactive, and we have a place where we open it, and after we've opened the packages, we leave the cardboard to decontaminate, and we spray the counter where they've been with Lysol or some other stuff. But a lot of people are living through packages. Just remember, it can live on cardboard for a while, and if the person who delivered it has a problem, that it can enter your house through there.
Absolutely. I mean, we are fighting an invisible war. It's not just the U.S.
Right.
It's not just the world. It's us. You know, we're in the trenches, all of us. So, we need to have that approach. And we just need to look, I'm not going to be right about everything. Monty's not going to be right. And most of the people, no one's going to be right about everything. So we have to realize we're in uncharted waters.
Yeah, for sure.
And the deeper we get closer to this eclipse, in my opinion, the fuzzier and fuzzier the vision or the auguries or the it's like as you get closer to the singularity, the faster time slows down. When you get to the singularity of a black hole, everything comes to a stop.
Right.
So it's sort of like the closer we get to what's coming, right, the harder it's going to be for astrologers, for remote viewers, right? That's why I'm trying to put the remote viewing team together now. I've already started that this morning, and I'm going to have a protocol, and I'm going to lead it because something told me, William, you got to lead this. You can't expect the other remote viewers who are like, William, stop. I mean, these are remote viewers who get paid by the government, by the army, to remote view the Soviet Union, and yet they're the ones who don't want to talk anything about the coronavirus.
Come on.
No.
Crazy.
I know. They're like, nah, I don't want to touch it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to touch it?
Oh,
you know, you're in a film that talks about you working for the CIA at Stanford, right? What's the film called? There was a documentary called Third Eye Spies. Right?
Oh yeah, I think I saw.
Yeah. For everyone, go see Third Eye Spies. Let me tell you something. You know what the real revolution in astrology is going to be? When we abandon a lot of the BS in astrology and we take what works and we combine it with remote viewing, and that's called the Nostradamus effect.
Wow.
That's what Nostradamus effect. He did remote viewing on top of astrology, and he was dead on. Okay. All right. And so
look at this inconjunct is sort of saying something scientific is going to come out of it. So what you're talking about is scientific.
Yeah, so absolutely. And what I'm really looking at is the X event, and everyone says, well, William, what's the X event? I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure it out. Well, you should know what it is. That's why we call it an X event. Folks, come on. And let me tell you something. Astrology is probably the most powerful divination tool ever devised by man. And especially if you've done horary with 90% accuracy rating, you know what I'm talking about. Most astrologers don't do horary because they're lazy asses. They don't want to learn it. They make excuses. And they don't want to make a decision where they can say to someone, where they put themselves up to risk and say, this is going to be a yes or going to be a no, right? They don't want to do that. But it is the most powerful and accurate divination system. But it doesn't, even with that, there's still a 10 to 12% gap.
Of course.
And that's where we need the remote viewing capability. We need to include that. And then we can get closer to that 100 or get into the late 90s with it, especially when it comes to big, intractable problems and crises that we're now in.
And the fact that you set it up on your birthday is so auspicious. You know, thinking about the X event, going back to what I said about the Two of Wands and about the Chinese saying about the journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath your feet, the X event, the Two of Wands, the crossroads. So it's going from one direction to another direction for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Do you know the tarot deck author, artist, William Place?
No, I don't.
He's a lifter. He actually holds the world record for his age. He's an older person.
I don't know him.
You might want to check out his decks. Maybe there'll be some. Maybe you'll like it. Robert Place. The cat and Amy have the same birthday.
A super powerful cat, an exalted cat.
Yes, I'm completely.
Sun is in its exaltation.
Yeah. And he has moon in Pisces like I do.
Right. I see.
This eclipse is going to kick my ass for sure.
Well, you know, it could also galvanize you. This could be like your Rocky VI comeback moment.
Well, I'm always saying we're due for the big hit. This could be the big one.
Right.
You know,
why don't you just do webinars? Like, just get on every day on streaming in Facebook and just say, you know, instead of writing, I'm just going to like talk to you all and answer your question, whatever you want to do. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
I've never done one before, but this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so it's easy. The webinar technology is very inexpensive and very easy to use. The fact that you're using it now is you can stream it directly to YouTube. And I think with this eclipse too is Uranus using the technology to social media, articulating astrology and giving people a perspective from his level of depth and understanding will be a very positive way to express this eclipse.
Yes. You can be his first guest.
That's a great idea.
Hey, that'd be great.
I'll return the favor because this was so much fun. But what I would really like it to be is I'd like to debate every one of those astrologers you're talking about who think that this is, it doesn't have any relevance. I mean, come on. I would just laugh the whole time. It's just like, come on, really? What are you talking about? Talk about the bizarro world.
That's exactly. In fact, the skeptical astrologers are the people who lead these organizations, who still believe there's going to be a NORWAC conference in May, who still believe the ISAR conference is going to happen in September.
Come on, they haven't canceled it?
Yeah, they haven't canceled them, who still tell us this will all pass quickly, folks, right? And what you're seeing.
Here's the story. This is a true story. So the financial astrologers talking about GAN waves and all that other stuff, we're having a conference, and they called me up and they were like, can you contribute money to bring the financial astrologers to Chicago? I was like, wait a minute. Aren't they financial astrologers? Who wants to listen to a financial astrologer who doesn't have the money to come to Chicago? And they were like, well, they need the money. I was like, well, they're getting it from me.
Well, I'll tell you something. I got interviewed by Michael Erlewine. I want to pronounce his name properly, right? He's the astrologer who established Monte Farber, Blue Star, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember him for definitely. He knew his stuff.
So he interviewed me at UAC, and it was a very good interview. It went on for a while. I actually transcribed it and pushed it up to my blog. Actually, my wife transcribed it.
Yeah, she's amazing. For that.
Yeah, she is amazing. And so here's the thing. What didn't get on that transcription, because it was after the interview was over, was the fact that he said, you realize over all the years I used to hold my conferences right up where he lived in, where did he run his center? He had that heart center. I'm trying to remember the name. It's up in the Bible Belt area, right? He said that all the financial astrologers were the worst off, most broke, and right. And he mentioned names.
Oh no.
Big names.
Oh no.
Big names. Yes. And I'm not talking about Bill Meridian. So let's get that clear. We're not talking about Bill Meridian. I'm not. Big names where he said all of them had worse financial problems than the sun sign astrologers who are writing in Vanity Fair columns.
Wow. Well, the ones who write the Vanity, that was Michael Luton, right? Didn't he used to do Vanity Fair?
Yeah. Well, he's a very successful astrologer, writer, publisher, author. It's in Michigan. So it was in Michigan. He had the Heart Center in Michigan. Right. And he told me every time they did a financial conference, they had to basically fly them in, feed them, host them, shelter them.
There is something called poverty consciousness and fear of success. And I wrote this book called Quantum Affirmations, which talks about, the quantum theory in terms of that there's multiple probable realities implied in every moment. And there are people, if you're standing there and a Bentley goes by and you say, that rich bastard, I'd never want to, there's something wrong with them. Do you think your powerful subconscious is going to want you to be that guy in that Bentley? No, you're not going to want to have people feeling the way you feel. But if you see someone go by in the Bentley, you're like, God, that's a nice car and it's wonderful. What that guy must have worked really hard for it or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then your subconscious is going to lead you to make decisions and choices that are going to lead you more. I'm not saying you're going to get a Bentley, but you're going to be more inclined. The more people resist, the more their problems persist.
Correct. I mean, it's the power of intention. It's right. It's the power of intention. Your intention is probably arguably the most powerful force that exists in the human psyche.
100%. Yeah, because it's a fivefold process, and the first thing is, what do you want?
What do you want? And why do you want it? Because if you can't tell me why you don't want it, you're not going to keep pursuing it.
Exactly.
And right, especially if you have setbacks. So the why is actually more important than the what, but you really need both. They have to be clear. They have to be articulate.
Yeah. Well, what you want, when you say, when you ask yourself, what do you want? Why do you want it? Is the next question. Because like if people say, well, I want to get married, it's like, why do you want to get married? Yeah. Well, no,
Right.
I'm serious because, when people, it's like people come to me and they'll say, is this person the one? And I'm like, if you got to ask some astrologer if they're
Right.
the one, they're not the one. You know what I
Right.
mean? If
Right.
it's the one, and so it's the same thing with, I want money. Well, why do you want money? I want money because I want to be able to do stuff. Well, you can do stuff now, but I want to be able to do this and so. And I'll say, but watch this. If you get creative, there's ways you can do what you want to do now. Like they say, I want to have money so I can help people. So, okay, you can help people now. So, and it's a clarification process of what do you want and why do you want it? You're 100% right. That's exactly.
Yeah,
And
you
then
got to have clarity of purpose. I'm really about outcome, being completely outcome driven, but you have to have clarity of purpose. And many people, what's the problem? People go, well, I want to be rich and famous, but I'm totally off track with my life. And I go, well, why do you want to be rich and famous? I can't,
exactly.
they're totally at a loss. So this is what astrology can help. And, we need to get clarity of purpose about what we want for our civilization, not just for ourselves, but
Yeah.
what do we want for our civilization at this time of crisis?
Right. We don't want to be a snivelization. Hey, my God. And you're a physical person. So if you're going to have an argument with someone or a physical fight, the last thing in the world you want to do is to underestimate or hate the person that you're fighting. What you want to do is stay focused and centered and calm and as peaceful as you can, because your adrenaline is going to make you make mistakes. And you don't want to hate people. It's just like the worst thing for your body. You can feel the poison going through them. I see some things on Facebook. I'm like, why are you allowing such hate to fill yourself? Because you're going to poison yourself.
Right. And, I see this with the radical right or the Berkeley Antifa folks, actually thinking, I know people who have PhDs who I respect as metaphysicians or astrologers or remote viewers that actually gave me arguments or presenting arguments that Antifa is right in what they're doing and in terms of their stand. And so, it's not intelligence here, right? There's a massive disconnect. There's a massive disconnect happening. And that's something we need to start questioning now. What type of civilization, what type of world, what type of country? This is what this massive alignment combined with the eclipse, it's all leading us to these deeper questions that now that we have time, instead of being inundated with carbohydrates and Netflix, we can also, although I'm not totally against that, I have my moments when I like to, gobble down the carbs while I'm binging on some Netflix series or Amazon Prime. I actually am more of an Amazon Prime fan, but that's fine. That's cool. But right. You don't want to be getting locked into that because that's just going to create more uncertainty, more confusion, more depression, right?
Yeah. You got to be centered.
Got to be centered and then start saying, what type of world do we want to really create now that we have this opportunity? Now that we have some opportunity to think about this. And I think, that's important just to even be thinking about what type of world instead of just saying, when is I going to get my $3,000 check from Trump? Because that's
Bill Siegel wrote a book called The Control Factor. And in it, he talks about how people feel like, well, if we could get rid of Trump or if we could do this, then everything will be great. Because what they really are saying is, I feel out of control. I feel the world's out of control. If I do this, I've convinced myself if this happens, I will be in control and then everything will be great. Right. And it's a really amazing book. I think he self-published it, but it's called The Control Factor. And I see it at work all the time. I know they don't mean the hateful things they say about this person or this candidate, that candidate. They just want to control the feeling of being out of control because a lot of people, it's
well, I really think this is all symbolic of a deeper dissatisfaction, boredom, or depression that's going on within their own life, within their own relationship, with their own personal connection with themselves. I think this is more symptomatic of something where they feel let down, cheated in some way.
Oh yeah, I feel deprived. The sentence "I feel deprived" causes more problems in the world than practically anything else. People, feel deprived of sex and money and whatever, and they feel justified in taking this and taking that because they act from a deprivation head.
Right, right. So it's really about something deeper that's going on. And a lot of it is we have gone off track as a civilization. We have gone off track for a long time with in terms of a nation who's the world's leading superpower. I mean, we're certainly, this is an opportunity for us to get back on track and to lead the world into from a type 0 civilization to a type 1 civilization. I think we're at that threshold tipping point, and the only country that can do it is us. And it's going to take a crisis to force the issue to give us a massive radical reconfiguration of our values and beliefs and our directives, our prime directives about who we are and where we're going and how we're going to do that for the world at a deeper level and a bigger way with a vision. And I think everybody at a more microcosmic level is going to be going through that come to Jesus moment of like really getting to the bottom of what they really want with their life once we get through this, because this is going to be a tough couple, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Well said.
Well, I think we'll finish it here. I think we've gone on for quite a bit. But I just think it was great what we discussed today. I like the audience interaction. They had a lot of good things to say and pointed out some things that were certainly supplemental and added to the conversation that we had. And
anyone who stayed through that whole thing deserves an award, I think.
Yeah, right. We'll be sending out medals shortly.
Yeah, so, real gold.
Gold medals, right? So, I just want to tell everyone, be safe out there and just, I mean, if Trump lifts restrictions, I'm just going to say, use your intuition, whether you want to follow through on that. I really think if he does, here's my bet. With the eclipse coming up, if he does, he's going to have to reverse it very quickly.
You're probably right. Well, thank you. And okay, so I pulled a tarot card from my wife's amazing The Enchanted Tarot, and this is the Ace of Hearts, which is a new beginning, a new chance to open one's heart, the Sufi winged heart of love. This is a new chance to have emotions again, to feel the love of the universe. It's exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, so it's a time really of reconnecting at a deeper level. In
a new way.
In a new way. I mean, I do a little bit of tarot, and so the Ace of Hearts, which would be equivalent to cups. Right. Yeah, I was going to say, because I'm like going, oh, wait a minute, here must be a different time.
No, we use hearts, and we use princesses instead of pages.
Right. So from what I know of my training in tarot, and it's based on a hoodoo tradition from Cat Ironwood, and some other sources, developing intuition. Actually, I should say Liz Green as well in the Mythic Tarot.
Sure.
Developing the intuition, trusting that inner voice, enhancing your psychic awareness, getting in tune with yourself. Meditation, folks. Responding to messages from within. Going with your gut reaction. That's why I was saying, what if they lift the restriction, use your gut reaction or intuition to say, do I want to just rush out there now that, get on a plane again? I don't think they're going to do that, but, and then as you mentioned, proceeding with love, affection, forgiving and forgetfulness, because a lot of people go, I'm very spiritual, but you're going to have forgiving in that equation.
100%. And it's funny you say that, because I was channeling for Amy when all this started, and she asked me, well, what do you get? That was it your mother we were trying to get in touch with? And forgiveness was the word that came to me. And it was very surprising because we had asked what will help the situation. And I consciously did not think forgiveness was in the running, but that's what I got.
Yeah. So forgiving and I'm going to say forgetting, but more so emphasis on forgiving, because, and then just, being more open to others and proceeding with love. And that's why I say, hey, if you have a hard time doing this with people, I get it. Get a pet bunny, get a pet cat, get a pet, get some, it doesn't matter whether it's fish, whatever it may be,
No, they open your heart, just like that.
Open your heart. Right.
It's funny you say about forgiving and forgetting, because when I think about the water signs, like Pisces forgives and forgets, Cancer forgives but doesn't forget, and Scorpio doesn't forgive and doesn't forget.
We know that.
Yeah. So having it on the first point of Cancer, so there can be forgiveness without forgetting.
Right. And I think the other thing too is developing a bond with another. And that's why I'm saying like that bond, whatever it might be. Right. So let's finish it up there. I think it's great. I want to thank everyone for attending. Monte, you were wonderful. And you really, it's good to get a different perspective on things. You come from a little different world than I do, even though we're from the same area and right. But we different.
Yeah, I'm here to show you that not all boomers are evil.
Not all boomers are evil, right? So, and I'm looking forward to your webinar that you'll be streaming on Facebook. I'll be tuning in live, and
and you'll be one of my first guests, like Amy said.
All right, great. So let's set that up soon, because now is the time. Folks are going to be home, right? Folks, everyone listening out there, the reason we decided to do this was I figured, well, everybody's home and complaining and they're bored. So why don't we just do it now?
Oh my God. And we didn't even touch on the extraterrestrial.
I know. You know what? I'll tell you what. Let's touch on that. And I'll have a lot more to say. And I'm sure I know you have a lot more to say because we had this discussion yesterday about it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
In your show, in your follow-up show.
Okay, I'll talk about it. Yeah, okay. Because Amy lives in fear that at a party, if somebody asks me a question and I start giving the whole Sumerian cosmology from 4 billion years ago, and it happens all the time.
Right. So until next,
I'll get it out in the webinar.
Right. Yeah. So we'll have a tell-all revelatory disclosure event in itself. That'll get on social media. That will totally, if the mainstream establishment astrologists don't think we're crazy or hate us now, they're really going to lose it after this discussion.
I tell you, being an Aquarius, you really don't care. And early on, I realized that it wasn't going to happen with those people. So that's why I'm so totally surprised by it. I don't know what they're doing. I don't care. I mean, I wish them well. I have no animosity, but I mean, you can't listen to people like that, really.
No, you can't. I mean, people warned me, William, now you're going to go and talk about, UFOs during the era of Trump disclosure. I'm like, and I'm like, yeah, because that's where this is all heading, right? And ultimately, folks, guess what? All of this is about disclosure and our true origins. But stay tuned. That will be Monte's show, which I'll be the first guest on, and we'll just let it rip.
Oh, my God. Okay, now we're talking.
All right. Let's stop it here. I want to thank you all for attending, Monte, of course, and I look forward to meeting with all of you again. And let's just ride this out, and let's be safe out there, everyone.